Good morning and welcome to Unity of Fredericksburg. My name is Linda Thornton, and I am pleased to welcome all of you to the Unity of Fredericksburg weekly online gathering. At Unity of Fredericksburg, we are advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity, a positive path for spiritual living. Our message today comes from our minister, Reverend Cheryl Fair. And now here's Reverend Cheryl.
Thank you, Linda, and so good to be here with everyone today, whether you're watching live or later. Today is Sunday, May the 7th, and we are talking about the beauty of mind action today. So one of the themes that we're doing in 2023 at Unity of Fredericksburg is just kind of looking at the foundations of the Unity belief system. And one of the resources I'm using is Lessons in Truth by Emily Cady. So today we're looking at some content from her chapter called Thinking. And as I said, my title is The Beauty of Mind Action. Mind action is a core practice in Unity where we talk about and practice working with our thoughts and feelings. So we're going to explore mind action and talk about how it can help us have happier and more prosperous experiences in our lives. So mind action is linked to Unity's third principle, and the Five Principles book written by Reverend Ellen Davenport cites the third principle as being human beings create their experience by the activity of their thinking. Now, not that we're saying we create everything that happens out in the world. Things still happen, but what we're saying is that we choose our thoughts and feelings about what happens. When we make meaning, we choose our thoughts and feelings, and therefore we create how we experience all the stuff that happens in our lives. In the words of Eric Butterworth, you see things not as they are, but as you are. So if you have a negative mindset, you will see things in a negative way, and vice versa. So let me give you a personal example. So some years ago, I was involved in a very serious automobile accident, and I used everything I knew about Unity to manage that process. And to be honest, I would not have survived without Unity practices and the Unity belief system. And I was making my way through my recovery. I was in a rehab center recovering and from a massive infection, and I had a visitor, a very sweet person who came to visit me. And here's what she had to say to me over and over again. This is so terrible. This is so awful. I don't know how you are dealing with this. And I kind of laughed to myself at the time because I was thinking, well, I wouldn't have survived if I had that kind of thoughts. So, because what I was working with was thinking positive thoughts and focusing on healing, but not everyone works that way, right? So this was someone who was very sweet for coming to visit me, but was really carrying around a negative framework about this is terrible. But whenever something happens to you, you get to choose what the meaning of it is. You get to choose what you think about it. You get to choose how you feel about it. And in Unity, we provide some practices that can help you shift your thinking if you find yourself stuck in a way of thinking that is not productive. So it all begins with our thoughts and feelings. Unity founder Charles Fillmore writes on the topic of thinking in a book called The Revealing Word. And here's what he has to say. The thinking faculty in you makes you a free agent because it is your creative center. In and through this one power, you establish your consciousness, you build your world. So, do you feel like a free agent? How can we get that feeling of being a free agent in our own consciousness? What is our first step on the path to getting in alignment with the beauty of mind action? Well, in Lessons in Truth, in Emily Cady's chapter on thinking, where she starts is with an understanding, working on the understanding of what is mind. We're talking about mind action and thinking. So she's talking about what is mind. So in unity, our foundational belief, our first principle, is an understanding that there is one presence and one power active in the universe and in our lives. So if there's one presence and there's one power, that means there is one mind on that grand universal level. There is one mind, God mind. And each one of us is an individual expression of that one mind. So Emily Cady does address questions that she imagines people would come up. So, how is it that that if there's only one mind, how can I be thinking thoughts that aren't God thoughts? Well, we'll get to that. She says each man and woman has direct access to all there is in God. And Apostle Paul in Philippians 2:5 says, let the same mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus. So we're talking about all the aspects of God mind. Big M. Faith, power, strength, love, all of these things are available to us in our human minds, little m. So what about questions? What about, well, if all the mind there is God, how can I be thinking wrong thoughts or have any thoughts that aren't of God? And that's because we all have access to all of that potential in God mind, and we use it according to the thoughts and feelings we hold in our own consciousness. So it always comes back to what our thoughts are, what our beliefs are. So if I believe that I'm not smart enough, then I will use all of my faculties according to that belief. And my use of divine intelligence will be limited according to the fact that I believe that I'm not smart enough. But what we learn in unity is that we can always work with these practices, work with our faculties to expand our awareness of all that is. And that includes how divine mind works. And to take it a step further, we want to learn also, we want to be aware of how our human brain works so that we can operate ourselves and our own consciousness at the highest level possible. So one of the things that we use for that is what's called the law of mind action. Now let's look at that word law here for a second. By this, we mean a natural law, as in gravity. Here on Earth, gravity just is. Now, gravity exists in different ways, in different places throughout the universe, but on Earth, in our human existence, gravity is, and we all operate in cooperation with this energy of gravity. That's a part of our existence. So when we talk about the law of mind action, we're talking about how mind operates, how the universe operates. So the short version of this, and those of you who have been in unity for a long time will recognize this short version. The law of mind action is thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Now, we do want to expand on that a little bit because in unity, we acknowledge that emotions are a part of this game of being human as well. It's not just about thoughts. We are not just creatures of intellect. So when we talk about this in unity, we talk about thoughts and feelings as units that travel together. Because if you think about it, when you encounter, say, a startling event, your initial reaction is going to be very physical. There will be a physical reaction. There may be an emotion like fright or something. And then following that, there will be a thought that said, oh, I've touched something hot. So we're not always leading with thought. And we know as we get to know ourselves through our entire lives that some of us lead with our thinking nature. Some of us interpret the world very much from our feeling nature or from our gut instincts. So when we do things like study the Enneagram per se, that's a system that helps us learn. If we're not really paying attention to how we operate, it helps us learn, oh, I really do lead with my feeling nature, don't I? So when we talk about the law of mind action, let's expand it a little bit further and say thoughts and feelings held in mind tend to produce more thoughts and feelings of the same kind. Now we add that little tend to in there because we do know that we have thoughts that are just passing thoughts. You know, when we're at the restaurant and we say Coke or Diet Coke, this is not something that's going to create, a whole belief system around Coke or Diet Coke. These are passing thoughts. When we talk about the thoughts and feelings that really have an effect on our consciousness and how we operate, we're talking about thoughts that we are enhancing with lots of feelings. So think about what is your most frequent, what you might call a negative thought or feeling, whatever your style is. So if that happens to be worry or anxiety or frustration or anger or sadness, whatever your style is, imagine that you have a thought. I mentioned the thought earlier, I'm not smart enough. We'll say that's, one that you come up, face up against, like, oh, I would like to do more with my technology, but I'm not smart enough. Well, you have some feelings about that because maybe you've tried and failed. Maybe it was embarrassing. Maybe it was frustrating. So there are a lot of feelings around it. Now, our brain, our human brain, is what I like to call a good and faithful servant. So as soon as you have that thought, I'm not smart enough, and then you have some feelings around that are like, we don't want to go there, your brain immediately says, let me go and find some examples to verify that this is true. Oh, yeah, I remember when that happened, when that happened, when that happened. We don't want to go there again. So there is that operation of thoughts and feelings held in mind tend to produce after their kind, and your brain helps with this. And neuroscientists would call this confirmation bias. So the tendency to interpret your outer world based on whatever your belief system is. So if you're somebody who believes I'm not smart enough, your brain is going to find examples and verify for you, yep, that's true. You should give it a try. You're not smart enough. So this is kind of shows us how on the human level, how this law of mind action works by looking at how our brain works. But of course, we're here to talk about the law of mind action on a spiritual level. So how can this, knowing this, understanding this, be a game changer for us on a spiritual level? And this is why I call it the beauty of mind action. This is where the beauty lies. When you choose to focus your thoughts and feelings on God, on the beauty of the universe, on gratitude, rather than elements of your outer life, you expand your alignment with your divine nature in that instant. So this is not a new concept, folks. These are modern words, and we're talking about confirmation bias and things like that, but this is not a new concept. This concept is displayed in the Bible. For those of you who get, a lot of meaning and relevance from the Bible, it's in the Bible over and over and over again. The example of Jesus and his 40 days and nights in the wilderness is him practicing the law of mind action, because there is, one after the other. Oh, what about this? What about that? And each time what he does is intentionally shift his perspective to his divine nature and lean into that rather than lean into whatever scenarios are being presented to him in his thoughts. There are also wonderful citations from scripture. So the Apostle Paul from Romans 8:6. Here's Paul saying, to set the mind on the flesh is death, but to set the mind on the spirit is life and peace. Let's hear a little bit from Emily Cady and what she has to say about this. We can all learn how to turn the conscious mind toward universal mind or spirit within us. We can, by practice, learn how to make this everyday topsy-turvy mind on the flesh be still and let the mind that is God, all wisdom, all love, think in and out through us. So here's another one, also from the Apostle Paul from Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence and if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. So there it is right there. So let's just review, because what I've provided here is kind of 5 steps to activating this creative thinking and feeling faculty that we have that's displayed to us through the law of mind action. So first is to understand divine mind and human mind. So we've talked about that. What we call God, or all that is the one mind. We are each one of us an individual expression of that mind. And at the point of us, we have control over how we use our consciousness. So understanding, this is number 2 here, the law of mind action. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Understanding that and how our brains work helps us to understand also on a spiritual level. Realizing, this is number 3, realizing that we have the capacity to choose our thoughts and feelings is key. Many times when we get into situations that are stressful for us, our brains will automatically serve up, I can't help it. I can't help how I feel. I can't help how I think. And yet we always have that choice. Empowering ourselves to make a different choice, choose a different thought, is the key to improving the quality of our life experience and then developing the tools to do so. Because it doesn't happen overnight, it takes practice, and it's the kind of practice we talk about when we say spiritual practice. It's not like, well, I practiced 3 times and I'm done. It didn't work. It's an ongoing practice, because we all know that we have certain situations that can trigger us, and that, we have a weakness for this particular kind of dynamic. It might take a long time for you to keep working with it, keep working with it, keep working with it. But that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do in this life, is to be in spiritual practice. So the beauty of mind action, as we choose thoughts aligned with God mind and associate feelings with that are beneficial to us, we expand our awareness of all that is good. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or sad or whatever it is that shows up for you, take a breath. Be reminded of the words of Jesus when he said, do not judge by appearances. Because that first layer of experience that we have is always going to be that outer layer of what you're seeing with your human eyes and hearing. And when you take a breath and notice what that human reaction is, what the thoughts are that are coming up for your brain, know that you have the power to choose a different thought. Choose a different thought. And if you're at a loss for what to choose, well, what can I choose? What's a better thought? What's a different thought? Always choose something that you're grateful for. And there's not a moment in your life where you can't come up with something that you're grateful for. So lean into gratitude. So we're going to take all this and move into meditation. As we head there, I'm going to read you a little bit more from Emily Cady in Lessons in Truth. So take a couple deep breaths, and if you wish, you can allow your outer eyes to drift closed or soften or focus on something that is pleasing to you. And here's some words from Emily Cady. We do not have to beseech God any more than we have to beseech the sun to shine. The sun shines because it is a law of its being to shine, and it cannot help it. No more can God help pouring out into us unlimited wisdom, life, power, all good, because to give is a law of its being. Nothing can hinder it except our own lack of understanding. God is all good, always love. It never changes. No matter what we do or may have done, it is always moving to pour more of itself through us into visibility as to make us grander, larger, fuller, freer individuals, free agents in the realm of our own consciousness. So just take that into your bones, my friends, into every cell of your body. You are a free agent in the realm of your own consciousness. You have the capacity to choose your thoughts, choose your feelings, to work with the thoughts and feelings that show up to improve the quality of your experience. There is no need for you to feel a victim in any circumstance because you always have a choice. So let's move into the silence together as we reflect on that freedom. And as we begin to bring our awareness back to this moment, right here, right now, just feel the energy of that freedom to choose in every circumstance. Feel that energy moving through every cell of your body, every thought held in your mind, every feeling that comes along to show you the way. And as we come back to the here and now, your seat, the room you're in, let's close together with an affirmation. Here's the affirmation. I'll say it once and then we can repeat it a couple times together. My thoughts and feelings are grounded in goodness. and I am grateful. Say it with me. My thoughts and feelings are grounded in goodness, and I am grateful. One more time. My thoughts and feelings are grounded in goodness, and I am grateful. So it is, my friends. Thank you for being here. And now I'm going to hand it back over to our service leader, Linda Thornton.
Thank you, Cheryl. That was a great message. Really appreciate it. It's timely for me, for sure. Okay, here we go. For those of you watching on YouTube, we thank you for joining our weekly broadcast. Please like this video and subscribe to the Unity of Fredericksburg YouTube channel so you can find us easily again next Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We encourage you to join us in the Zoom community room for the full Sunday service morning experience, including music, prayer, and connection. Send an email to info@uofva.org to receive the Zoom link. And for those local to Central Virginia, Unity of Fredericksburg offers a variety of fun and enriching in-person gatherings every month. Visit our website, uofva.org, to learn more about our mission, a spiritual awakening, and support our ministry with your financial donation. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.